This is the King of Laos. Not the actual king of the country, but the man who owns the King's Romans casino. In this corner of the jungle, his word is the only law that exists. If you went to visit, you'd pull up to a $2 billion empire of marble and gold. It looks like a luxury resort from the future. But the staff aren't there to serve you drinks. Most of them aren't allowed to leave. They are workers who had their passports shredded at the front gate. This isn't a casino. It's a 40-square-kilometer sovereign state. It has its own police force, its own taxes, and its own secrets. The US government calls it a global criminal hub, but the king calls it business as usual. Because behind the neon lights of the high-stakes tables, there's a basement floor that isn't on any map. And what's being sold there makes the shady casino look like a playground. Most people walk into the zone voluntarily. They aren't looking for trouble, they're looking for a paycheck. Imagine you're a 22-year-old college grad in a city with no jobs. You see a Facebook ad for customer support at a luxury resort in Laos. The salary is $4,000 a month, more than your parents make in a year. You take the flight, thinking you finally caught a break. You imagine calling home and telling your mom you can finally pay the bills. But as soon as the van crosses into the zone, the driver stops talking. The doors lock with a heavy mechanical thud. A man in a tactical vest takes your passport. He doesn't put it in a safe, he puts it in a drawer and tells you it's gone. He tells you that you now owe the company $5,000 for your travel and visa fees. You try to argue, but you notice the bruise on the neck of the person next to you. You are marched into a concrete high-rise wrapped in rusted barbed wire. Inside, the windows are barred, and the doors are guarded by AK-47s. This is a scam factory. Your room is a mattress on the floor shared with 6 strangers. The air smells like stale cigarettes and unwashed clothes. Your job is to run what the industry calls a pig butchering scam. You spend 16 hours a day on dating apps like Tinder or Hinge. You target lonely people in the US and Europe. You use photos of beautiful models to bait the trap. You spend weeks building a fake romance. You listen to their problems. You tell them you love them. You wait until they trust you with their deepest secrets. Then, you butcher them. You trick them into investing their life savings into a fake crypto platform. You watch the numbers on your screen go up as their real bank account hits 0. Every cent they send goes straight into the king's private wallet. If you don't hit your $10,000 daily quota, you aren't fired. You are taken to a dark room. You are handcuffed to a pipe and shocked with electric prods until you can't scream anymore. If you try to run, you're sold to the next building like a piece of equipment. It is a digital slave trade generating $40 billion a year. But as terrifying as the office blocks are, the king has another inventory tucked away in the shadows. If you walk into the restaurant surrounding the casino, the menu is a horror story. In America, we watch tigers and documentaries to feel wonder. We teach our kids that these are the kings of the jungle. In the zone, they are served on a plate for $500 a portion. This is the premier destination for exotic dining. We're talking about bear bile, pangolin scales, and tiger meat. The king didn't just want to sell these animals. He wanted to manufacture them. Tucked away from the tourist strip are the tiger farms. You can hear them before you see them. A low, vibrating growl that sounds like a machine breaking down. Hundreds of tigers are kept in concrete pens. They pace in tight circles, their fur matted with their own filth. They aren't being raised for a zoo or a sanctuary. They are being raised for tiger bone wine. It's a process where a tiger's skeleton is soaked in vats of wine for years. Imagine a 1,000-gallon tank filled with the bones of an animal that should be free. A single bottle can cost thousands of dollars. Then there are the bear bile farms. Moon bears are kept in crush cages, so small they can't even turn around. The metal bars press against their skin until their fur falls out. Permanent tubes are inserted into their stomachs to drain their bile daily. They moan in a tone that sounds hauntingly human. It is systematic cruelty for profit. This meat market is the dark heart of the Golden Triangle. To keep a market this illegal running in broad daylight, you need a way to wash the blood off the money. When you step onto the main floor of the King's Romans, it's eerily silent. Most casinos are loud, bells, sirens, and cheering. Here, the air is thick with a different kind of tension. Massive marble statues look down on rows of empty tables. It feels like a mausoleum for the living. The hotels have hundreds of rooms with the lights turned off. Yet, the balance sheets show billions of dollars moving through the cage. How does an empty room make $1 billion? It starts with a system called proxy betting. Wealthy gamblers in China call a junket operator in the zone. The operator sits at the table with a headset showing the cards to a camera. The gambler makes $1 million bets from their phone in Shanghai. They never have to see the barbed wire. They never have to hear the bears. This is a giant washing machine for dirty money. You take cash that shouldn't exist, bet it, and walk away with a clean receipt. The king doesn't care if you win or lose. He takes a cut of every hand dealt. But the real VIP experience happens behind the gold-plated doors on the top floor. That's where the chips are made of favors and illegal contracts. In those rooms, the lives of the workers downstairs are just bargaining chips. This entire empire is built on a piece of paper that shouldn't be legal in any country on earth. This loophole started 20 years ago when the government of Laos was desperate. They had a stretch of jungle that was a no-man's land for drug smugglers. It was a place where nobody wanted to go and nothing would grow. Then came Zhao Wei. He didn't come with an army. He came with a checkbook. He convinced the government to sign a 99-year lease for the land. The contract gave Zhao Wei almost total autonomy. He was allowed to build his own roads and hire his own security. In exchange for building a city, he bought the right to ignore the laws of the country. Zhao Wei built an international airport and a deep water port. He built the infrastructure the government couldn't afford. In return, they gave him a sovereignty loophole. It effectively turned 3,000 hectares of Laos into Zhao Wei's personal kingdom. When the US labeled him a drug kingpin, the government defended him. They called the sanctions an infringement on their rights. They ignored the cries coming from the scam centers, because the king's money pays for their schools and their hospitals. But being a king means dealing with the one thing every monarch fears: an invasion. For years, the world has tried to break into the zone, but every raid is mostly for show. In late 2025, a massive operation supposedly cleared out the scam centers. Thousands of people were deported for the cameras. They were loaded onto buses while the news crews filmed. But once the cameras stopped rolling, the truth came out. The lights are still on. The king remains in his penthouse, watching the fountains dance. He is protected by the very laws he bought. While the world focuses on the raids, the next generation of scams is already being built. They aren't going away. They're just moving into bigger towers. Survivors are starting to leak videos that the guards can't delete. But for every person who escapes, recruiters find 10 more who are desperate. The gold paint is starting to peel. But the king isn't going anywhere. In fact, as you watch this, the zone is actually getting bigger. Right now, a recruiter is posting a new ad for a tech job on your feed. Another van is crossing the border with the doors locked. A new worker is handing over their passport, watching as it slides into the shredder. Because in the Golden Triangle, this is the King of Laos.